abundantly clear with this cover-up is that the Prime Minister is nothing but a fake feminist. This all started when the good old boys at SNC-Lavalin got caught bribing and spending money on prostitutes, and then the Prime Minister and his good old boys said to them, "Don't worry, we'll take care of it." But then a woman, the former Attorney General, said no to the good old boys, and she was promptly fired and silenced. Why is the Prime Minister silencing women of principle while covering up for the actions of his corrupt friends?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we will not be lectured by the Conservatives about women's role in our society. We have, from the very get-go, invested in promoting women, and we have defended women's reproductive rights unequivocally. We will continue to work defending women, investing in equality, for pay equity. This is a priority to us. And they are still in favor of abortion. We know that defending women's rights is what we will always do.
The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is really good at yelling and screaming at women, as the member from Whitby knows. And he's also a very good actor. But, Mr. Speaker, he's a fake feminist. We know that after the principled resignation of the former president of the Treasury Board, another good old boy, the Minister of Finance, said she just quit because she was good friends with the former Attorney General. And that's just what girls do. Mr. Speaker, why is the Prime Minister and his friends thinking it's so much easier to silence women? And, Mr. Speaker, they were yelling through most...
Order. Order. I would, of course, order. Order. Members will know that members have 35 seconds to ask a question and the same to answer it. Members know that there's too much talk during the House, particularly during answers. Occasionally there is a bit during questions. But there shouldn't be either. Neither should occur. Members should show respect for the rules and institutions and traditions of this place on both sides. So I appreciate very much the honourable member's interest in the question of decorum. Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservative Party is lecturing us about women's rights, and I find it very rich. This is the party that still wants to challenge a woman's right to choose an abortion if that's what she so chooses. And this is backward thinking. We will always defend women's rights. We will always invest in women's equality, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because it's the intelligent thing to do. We are going to build a stronger economy with women, not by sticking them in a corner.
Honourable Opposition House Leader, order.
There's a corner. Mr. Speaker, we know that the Prime Minister likes to just say that women have experienced interactions with him differently. Boy, where have we heard that one before? But, Mr. Speaker, we know what the Liberal member from Whitby said. She had an experience where the Prime Minister phoned her and yelled and screamed at her so loudly her husband could hear it through the phone. Why is it that he can't see when he silences women, when he yells and screams at them, when he says that their experiences are just different perspectives? He is demeaning all women and showing what a fake feminist he is.
Order. I'm sure members will all share the concern about having quiet during question period. We've just heard. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me just say that I would be delighted if the Leader of the Opposition was trying to prove himself a better feminist than me. I think that would be a great thing for our democracy, for the Leader of the Opposition to defend women's causes, to stop opposing budgets that help women, to stop voting against investments in help to underprivileged women and organizations that help women. Mr. Speaker, if the Leader of the Opposition wants to be a better feminist than me, I wish him good luck. That would be a great thing.
Order. The honourable member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Here's the problem for the Prime Minister. He asked for strong women, and this is what they look like. Women who won't sacrifice their principles to cover up his corruption scandals. Women who stand up every day and refuse to back down against his abuse of our judiciary, of parliamentary committees, and more importantly, the use of the term feminist.
Yes.
Fake. I'll ask one more time. If this Prime Minister is such a feminist, why is he muzzling the former Attorney General?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, I am Monsieur le Président,
Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to have women who are strong and outstanding, not just in cabinet, but within our caucus. Outstanding women who continue to contribute hugely every day to building a stronger Canada, where there's equality between the sexes, where there's opportunities for Indigenous people who, as partners in what we're doing. We've brought 825,000 people out of poverty since we took office because we're investing in the middle class and those who are working hard to join it.
It seems the only women the Prime Minister is proud of are those who use their reputation to do his dirty work. And that's wrong. That's not a feminist. There's a reason why he used. They experience things differently, both in the Creston groping scandal and in Lav Scam. It's because he wants women to think and take the message that if they accuse him, a powerful man, of wrongdoing, then it's them to blame. And that's wrong. Why is the Prime Minister only letting his good old boys do all the talking?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very happy to talk about all the things this government is doing to protect and promote women's rights. We're providing health care services, sexual and reproductive health care services to women in Myanmar. We've created a position for protecting women in peace and security. We have an LC in peacekeeping operations. We're protecting and defending women's rights in Saudi Arabia, which the Conservatives never did. We've played a role in the G7.
The honourable member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Oh no, Mr. Speaker. What this Prime Minister is doing, the only thing that he has been doing is moving hell and high water to protect a company that stands accused of bribing Muammar Gaddafi's sons with prostitutes. And he's been doing that while muzzling strong, principled women. That's not what a feminist looks like. No. That's not walking the talk. Every day that he refuses to allow the Attorney General to testify and tell her story is another day he's a fake feminist. Why has he got her on a muzzle?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm so happy that we're talking about women's rights because this government has invested millions and millions of dollars in helping women all across the country, and we'll keep on doing just that. It's the Conservatives who keep voting against our measures for equality between the sexes and giving more opportunities to entrepreneurial women. We will continue investing in women all across the country and around the world. It's a priority in order to build a better world for all.
Mr. Speaker, not only do Liberals not want the truth to come out at the Justice Committee, we now know they were bending the truth about jobs being in danger. The CEO of SNC-Lavalin just said he never told the Prime Minister that jobs in Canada were in danger. They shut down debate at committee. They misled Canadians. 2 cabinet ministers and 2 senior officials have lost their jobs. Remember the Liberal Liberals in 2015 promising transparency and accountability, what happened to them? Canadians are tired of being misled and now know they can't trust this Prime Minister. Will the Prime Minister do the right thing and launch an independent public inquiry, yes or no?
Right, Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in 2015, we began investing in the middle class to create economic growth. That's what we promised, and that's what we've done, and that's what we continue to do. With the budget we tabled yesterday, we're showing that we are investing in more access to new housing for families. We're investing in connectivity, high-speed connections across the country. We're investing in pharmacare to enable people to have access to drugs. And we're doing that because our plan is working. For 3 years, we've seen economic growth, which will allow us to continue investing.
Bay.
We now learn from the CEO of SNC-Lavalin that 9,000 jobs were never at risk. To say that they're going to be unemployed is not true, he said. And yet this Prime Minister has misled his caucus, the House, and Canadians day after day after day, because it was never about jobs. It was about helping his wealthy friends, about shutting down the Justice Committee, and that he has tried to cover up his interference in an independent public prosecution. He has broken faith with the Canadian people. Why is he so afraid of an investigation into his actions in making up the facts around the SNC lobbying?
Honourable Prime Minister.
What Canadians expect, Mr. Speaker, is us to work to protect jobs and workers with full respect for our institutions, and that's precisely what we're doing. We will keep investing in workers. We will keep helping Canadians, for example, with the investments we're making in training, Mr. Speaker. In the budget we tabled yesterday, Canadians will be able to have access and time for training so that they can better prepare themselves for the jobs and opportunities of the future. That is paving the way for the future for workers and Canadians. That's what we're doing. The Honourable Member for Richmond, Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, what Canadians want to know is the truth. When the Prime Minister refused a public inquiry, he refused to appear before the Justice Committee. He refused to allow his inner circle to speak, and he refused to waive privilege on the former Attorney General. After the bogus investigation by the Justice Committee, will the Prime Minister agree to appear before the Ethics Committee? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, here on this side of the House, we understand that parliamentary committees choose themselves the witnesses they wish to call, and I will always respect committee's decisions. Here on this side of the House, we respect our institutions, and that's why we're investing in our institutions. We're investing in Canadians as well. We're investing in infrastructure all across the country. We're investing in affordable housing. We're investing in internet connections to help dairy farmers. We're going to keep working on behalf of Canadians. Honourable Member for Richmond, Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, there was the resignation of the Justice Minister, of the President of the Treasury Board, of the Clerk of the Privy Council, and of the Prime Minister's top advisor, who's supposed to be his buddy. And we've just learned that another Liberal member has quit the caucus. And the Prime Minister is hiring private law firms at taxpayer expense. And he says there's nothing to see here. Will the Prime Minister agree to appear before the Ethics Committee? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. What the Conservatives should know is that committees themselves decide which witnesses to call. We will always participate when called to do so, but yesterday in our budget, we demonstrated that we're focused on Canadians. Let's let the Conservatives play petty politics. We're focused on the economy. We've created 900,000, Canadians have created 900,000 jobs in the past 3 years, and we have the lowest unemployment rate in 40 years. The Conservatives have no plan whatsoever for the economy. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, for a year and a half, the Conservatives have stood up hand on their hearts saying that they're protecting jobs for SNC-Lavalin workers. But the CEO has stated that he never talked about 9,000 jobs being at risk. It's a direct contradiction of what the Prime Minister is saying. And the Ethics Committee is going to investigate this scandal. We've just learned that. Will the Prime Minister agree to testify? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Since 2015, we've done everything we could to protect jobs and workers, and will continue to do so. Since 2015, Canadians have created over 900,000 new jobs all across the country. But not all Canadians have access to the necessary training to get those new jobs. So with our budget we tabled yesterday, we've created a Canadian training benefit which will help workers find time and money to improve their skills. This is a measure that will greatly help workers and businesses. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, when the Globe and Mail broke the story about the Liberal scandal, the SNC-Lavalin scandal, what has happened? The former Attorney General lost her job. The former President of the Treasury Board lost her job. And now a Liberal member is quitting the Liberal caucus. 1, 2, 3 women. That's the so-called record of a feminist Prime Minister. The Ethics Committee is going to meet to study this SNC-Lavalin scandal. Will the Prime Minister agree to give his version of events, yes or no? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we will always cooperate with committees. They choose what studies to undertake, but at the same time, we know that investing in Canadians, investing in the Canadian economy, as we promised to do since 2015, it has worked. We've seen economic growth, which we hadn't seen under the Harper years. We've seen job growth, which we didn't see under Harper. But unfortunately, the Conservatives are still caught up in the same Harper approach. And that's why they don't want to talk about the economy. They don't want to talk about the budget. They would rather play petty politics. We are going to remain focused on Canadians.